All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have special guest Rob Goyen. Rob, welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be here. It was a little longer than anticipated, but we
Yeah,
finally got back.
yeah, you and I've been talking for a long time now, and you're finally back here. And a lot of exciting things that are going on with the trail running community and with what you're doing. I'm not going to give that away as of yet because I want people to stay tuned and listen. But we do have some big announcements, which later on today you're going to be announcing anyways. But before we do go into that, tell me what you've been up to at Ultra Signup and kind of those kinds of things, where your thinking is today.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially stopped race directing full time 2022. So
Yeah.
I actually just celebrated my 3 years of being an employee at Ultra Signup. But essentially, I ended race directing in like May of 2022. And I've told this before, but ended up in Tahoe to meet friends from another country and ran into the CEOs of Ultra Signup, which are David and Jay. And they had asked to have coffee with me in the village and just talk about race directing and some of just like thoughts and ideas. And yeah, it ended up being 30-minute conversation, ended up being like a 3 hour conversation. And they had some really what I would consider wild ideas for a registration platform, which obviously now we're seeing come through a lot. But they had some just like really outside the box ideas. And they said, hey, would you want to work on those ideas? And a lot of those ideas are like Dirt Circus, which is the traveling community runs. It's how do we engage properly with race directors? It's how do we start to make branded merch to give away? It's just all these ideas of getting the platform offline and getting it online, right? So trying to give back to the communities on a very granular level and get back to the groundwork, which obviously I had built a race company like that before from the ground up by myself. So I knew how to do it. So yeah, the last 3 years have been a lot of that. And then maybe January of this year, one of the original ideas is they wanted me to be like an all-in-one resource for race directors. And then towards the very end of last year, Third Circus went to some people that could do it inside of our organization to run it. And then I moved over fully into like race director resources. So I spend my days helping race directors come on platform. I spend my days helping race directors with questions, and it doesn't matter the question. I can get a call on, hey, I'm having a problem with a permit, or I'm getting a call with, hey, Rob, can you give me the person that actually makes the inflatable and help me with it? And it could just be education features, which I do for us. I get on podcasts and do some resources on that. But at the end of the day, like my job is to help every race director that uses the platform. Essentially, my phone is open 24/7. I've used the platform since 2011. And
Yeah.
also, I have the knowledge of changing what's coming, what are some of the improvements that are happening all the time. So, yeah, I'm there to try to help our race directors put on good events because it's our belief internally that runners go to a race and we think that if we can help our race directors be the best that they can be, then we essentially can help our runners get the best experience that they can, and they use the platform. So the last thing that we want is we don't want someone who says, I feel drawn to be a race director. I want to put on, let's say, a 50K. We don't want that person to put a 50K up on the website and open it for registration and then feel like they have nowhere to go. Like
Yeah.
maybe they've done some of the research, but they don't know. They have a lot of questions. And instead of just saying, hope you figure it out, which could probably lead to a bad experience, not only for the race director, but for also all the people running,
Yeah.
we choose the opposite. We say, listen, Rob Goyen is there 24/7, book an hour with him and let's do it. And the fun part about that for me is I did that when I was a race director before for free.
Yeah.
I still do it for my friends that are not even on the platform. I have plenty of my friends that don't use our platform that call me for advice on race directing. And I take the calls because to me, I wasn't treated that way when I got in the sport. It was a very like, hey, you want to race direct? You want to come in here and come against us? We're not going to help you. We're not going to help you beat us, that kind of mentality. So my mentality is the opposite. Information is free. Execution, as we talked about, is everything. So I want to try to give people the information that I think makes them better race directors.
I think that's pretty cool. Ultra Signup is looking at trying to be this all-in-one platform to where they not just is a place for people to sign up their races, but it's a place to help race directors get the most out of their race directing. And
Yeah.
having a professional like you that have been there, done that, started something from ground up and was highly successful in the past, having like you, an expert, there's something said about that. I like that a lot. I guess I didn't put that together. whenever we first spoke, and that makes more sense. I like that.
They're trying to also see it from our eyes, right? If we make an internal change, maybe they have an internal change they're thinking about making. They could say that change internally, and it may be like, yeah, that change makes sense. Then you put it in front of me, and I go, our race director's not going to like that. And let me tell you why, because it may
Yeah,
look a little bit different than you think, or they may read it a little bit differently than you think it is. So we need to make it, we need to open it up, we need to be more clear about it. So the race director lens is not the same as the runner lens that
of course
uses
not.
the site on a regular basis. They're both essentially, it sounds different, but they're both essentially our customers. Race
Yes.
directors are hosting races and we're helping them, and runners are essentially coming to us to register for races. So we have to look at it in both ways when we decide to make changes.
100%. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And you've got to first get the race directors to use the platform. And how do you do that? And
Yeah.
one way is bringing an expert like yourself in to just guide them, help them, and be successful out there. Because the more they're successful, the more you guys are successful and people are coming to the race. And then you could also, I assume you can market out to their customers because they're on your site. I don't know how that works, but there's probably something like that there.
It's Ultra Signup is set up as a marketplace, which is why so many people use,
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially so many people use the platform. And it's also the same reason why, on a very granular level, Dirt Circus has been such a hit traveling across the country. I think Chicago is in a couple of weeks, which I wish I could make that one just because Chicago is beautiful. Of course, the Dallas one's in, or the one up
I
there
didn't
is in
see you on
October.
there. Are you going to be there?
I allegedly might be there. Now,
Well,
it's my daughter's off week for
okay.
school, but I think I might slide in on Saturday to, obviously I want to come. I love it.
Yeah.
Those are designed for us to give your average person that uses the site, or the people that have never used the site, just a taste of what trail running feels like
Yeah.
at a race. And that's why we invite all of our race directors there, because our goal in those is the same thing. We're trying to get people to come and see trail running as a little small snack. You go have fun, you go to a great running store, you have great entertainment. And then you also get a chance to meet your race directors when they're not race directing.
Yeah.
Like I had a
Great.
it's had at times like people would be like, "Oh, you're rough at your races. You're rough around the edges." And I would tell people,
That's true.
"Listen, I'm really serious when I'm race directing,
Yeah.
and it isn't that I don't want to have fun. It's that it really counts. It
Yeah.
really matters." So the hard part to that is, as a race director, you don't often have an hour to stand around and really engage in your runners. So that's the reason why Dirt Circus also is popular for our race directors, is because they can come and they can just spend that 2 or 3 hours engaging people and letting people understand who they are and
Hmm.
talking about their races. So it's a really good meeting point of us being like offsite. Ultra Signup is offsite, creating experience, and it's free for everybody. It's free for your race directors, it's free for your run stores, free for your sponsors, free for your runners. Like, it's all there to continue to bring people into the ecosystem of trail running that doesn't rely on someone just opening a race. So we're constantly adding people into the sport. I think right now the rate is somewhere around 40%
Okay.
people that don't even have an entry on Ultra Signup, which means they've never even run a trail race and they're coming to experience it. So it's huge. It's
The
huge.
opportunity is big.
It's big right now.
So something I didn't ask you, what shirt is that? What are you wearing? What's the
Oh, this is a Rockfit shirt.
oh,
I
okay.
don't know if many people know who Rockfit is, but Rockfit is
Okay.
like a tattoo inspired streetwear athletic shirt. My
Okay.
style.
All right. Yeah,
My
no,
style.
it is. I just didn't know. So speaking of,
Yeah.
something that you and I have talked about for a while without we didn't get a chance to do a podcast until now, is that you're making a big announcement later today, and I would love to hear about this big announcement, what you're trying to do.
Sure. I'm coming back to race directing. The new company is called Rise Racing. Rise Racing for me is, it's just like, first and foremost, like I'm the kind of guy who's the rise and grind style of guy. And I like the wording and the phrasing. Whenever the tattoo or logo comes out, it's obviously like Texas tattoo themed because that's who I
Good.
am. That's what I like. But yeah, listen, I think like for me, for the last couple of years, I've put on two 10K national championship races for Ultra Signup. It's two of the biggest prize purses ever in the sport for short course racing. And it's a weird feeling to miss something and still be doing it. But at the end of the day, for the last year and a half, I've just really missed the opportunity to race direct. And it's hard for me to explain to people that have never race directed before. It's been really hard for me to explain that to my bosses, David and Jay, on yes, I love the work that I'm doing, but I also I said this to someone the other day who is a race director. He told me it's not necessarily true, but it's the way I felt. But I felt a little fraudulent. And it's not
Hmm.
that I don't feel like I'm fraudulent because I don't have a history of race directing for 11 years, because I do. But race directing changes, race directing moves, the sport is moving. And I want to teach a little bit more from the knowledge that I have of right now. And I felt a little held back of having these ideas that I want to implement, or having ideas that I didn't get to implement, and then just sitting on them and watching the world slowly go by. And it just became this fire that, like, and this is how I normally know, like, I started having race director nightmares or race director dreams. I started saying it out loud around my family, and my family, my
You wake up,
son and my wife.
race directing.
Nah, it's always that I haven't marked the course in time.
Oh,
It's always
okay.
the same dream, but it's
Yeah.
if it's in your subconscious, right? Like, I just can't get it out of myself.
Right.
Couldn't get it off my brain. Staying up at nights thinking of courses, staying up at nights thinking of ideas. It like just was tormenting me it's been tormenting me for 18 months
And your
of,
wife's like, fucking go.
you know what it is? It also is, we make family decisions, right? So my son's
Sure.
in college. I've got a 6-year-old. My wife. We have to decide if dad's going to go back on the road for some weekends out of the year, and how that
Sure.
works within our schedule. So it was a long road of me probably not staying silent enough, which always gets me in trouble. But it was just a long walk
Dude,
of, like,
just quickly, I don't disagree. I saw something on your Facebook. I don't know if it's February or whatever. And it was like this cryptic kind of message of, oh, and
yeah.
I'm like, all right, so it's coming. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, look, I'm not going to do this. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, actually what happened was is uh, every time I said anything on my Facebook
Yeah.
or my Instagram, which is why I don't post that often, but you don't post anymore. Every time I said anything, it would cause a problem. So it would just, for the people that don't want to see me come back to race directing, or the haters that are in general, or people that don't like it. If I said anything,
Yeah.
if I was at a beach and I said the water looks great, somebody would post, oh, he's talking about a race. He's going to put on a race. So it just became, instead of running away from it, at sometimes, like if it was on Instagram, I just leaned into it. I just said, can't wait to
Why
see
not?
you soon, because it just became this laughable thing where it doesn't really matter what I said. Someone took it as the context of, I'm going to put on a race. So at some point it was just like, I'm not going to put on events until I'm not working at Ultra Signup as an employee. And I had never been able to figure out how that would end up being. So I have a lot of respect for the people that run Ultra Signup, and I would never do them dirty and do something
Of
behind their
course.
back. And it just took a long time for us to mutually find a way for that to, like, for me to part ways as being an employee, and
So
like
quickly, what does
becoming
that
a
look like?
contractor.
So are you a contractor now with them, and then you're going to do race directing? So explain that a little bit so everybody
Yeah,
can.
essentially what we didn't want, which what has been brought up, is from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
You might think because I work at Ultra Signup, I have access to information, or I have access to all this stuff. I don't. I never have. But from the outside looking in, I
Yeah.
think, like, I could agree that people think that way, and obviously Ultra Signup can think that way as well. So
Sure.
just because it isn't real doesn't mean people don't perceive it to be real, which is totally fine, which I understood, they understand. So essentially, with me being a contractor, I don't have access to anything. I don't have a company email. I'm not in company teams. I'm not part of the company on a day-to-day basis like I
Yeah.
was before. I have an outside contractor. I use my personal email address, and I'm essentially removed completely from anything that has to do some Ultra Signup. I can't access anything. So I don't have any of that regard. As far as my
Okay.
job goes, my job still remains the same in the general sense of helping with activations, helping with race directors. And now I'm probably going to test a lot more stuff to help them out on
Sure.
the RD side, since I'm going to be digging into it all the time. But, like, my goal and job essentially still remain the same. My job is to help every race director that uses the platform, and that's what I'll continue to do. But we just had to get past the point of Rob can't say he's an employee and have access to everything, and then go back and say he's going to put on some races, even if it was going to be 2 races or 1 race.
Yeah.
That's the agreement that we came to together, and that's why essentially
Great.
I made the announcement, like, hey, which is why I'm talking to you today. It was like, hey, September 1st, and I'm no longer an employee, and now, like, I have some freedom to do some things that I just couldn't do as an employee.
So this is great. I know I'm pretty pumped about this. And so let's dive into details, because I think everybody wants to know, one is What is a Rob Goyen race like now? What are you thinking? When's the first one? What does that look like? Are you going to have a Facebook page or I don't know,
Yeah.
like how are we going to communicate? I know you send out some stuff to, because I want to know. I want to be a part of it right now. How do I get there?
Yeah. So here's the craziest part about all this. I wasn't going to make myself stay up for 24 hours. That essentially until 12 o'clock last night, I couldn't do anything.
Got
Well,
it.
I mean, just out of respect. So yes, I have everything and it'll ultimately be announced. But Rise Racing Co. So riseracingco.com is open right now. You can jump on it. You can put
Mhm.
your information in to jump on the newsletter. I have Twitter, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have TikTok. All those things are secure. We have all those things. That's not a problem. And then in this next week, I'll start to post on those items. Obviously,
Mhm.
the chat tonight is at 7.
Yeah.
I'm going to relay a lot of the information. We'll talk probably, or we may talk about this there, but a lot more race stuff. But yeah, essentially the reason that it's Rise Racing, and I have Rise Trails and I have it all. But the reason it's Rise Racing before anything else is I want to put on trail racing races. That's where my passion is in life. I've also been asked over the past couple of years to help put on some other style events, which I may end up helping to do. But yeah, I don't know if the difference in events or what people would expect, but at the end of the day, I feel like my style of putting on events is big, it's bold, it's
Yeah.
fun. That's the way the medals are going to be. The buckle that we already have for the first race is crazy, which we could talk about,
Oh,
the ideas we have for it. But yeah, I think that's my focus. I think that a change in focus would probably be I'm probably a lot more focused on shorter race days than super long race days. I'm not going to come out of the gate and chase a bunch of big 100-mile distances or 200s or something
yeah.
like that, only just because I know how much time and effort they take to put in. And I don't expect this to be easy, but I also don't want to come out of the gate and put on these super long races with a ton of aid stations
Mhm.
and really feel like I'm behind the ball on volunteering. So right out
Yeah.
of the gate, I'll tell you the first race. It is the Tex Miss Trail race. It is December 13th this year. It will open this Friday. It's at Bucher State Park, which is connected to Bastrop State Park. So right there in Smithville, we have everything from 104K to a 53K,
Those are
22
pretty long
miler.
races.
Nah, the 100K is to me is it's a
Yeah.
single day race, which means
Yeah.
you
Okay.
started at 6, you're out of the park within 24 hours. Everything's picked up. It doesn't take like a 30 or 36-hour cutoff where it's just like intensive. Plus, that's a short loop course. Bucher is a 7.2-mile course,
Mm.
so it has 2 aid stations. But yeah, I'm planning on putting on the absolute biggest Christmas trail party ever. Santa Claus will be there. We have a reindeer kids run. We've got a 7-miler. I've got a relay. I've got the ruck patched on the buckle is insanity. But yeah, that is the style that I think people should expect out of me. And I want to do content around it. I want to live stream it. We'll have Starlink out there. There'll be chip time, immediate timing. I want it all to be very fast paced, fun, and exciting. That's the pace I like.
7 miles. Is it easy to run? Is it an easy course or is it technical? What's the
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a mix. It's there in the Lost Pines Forest, so it has a little bit of
mm,
mix of technical terrain. I think over the whole loop it'll be like 400 feet of climbing up and down. So it's not anything
mm.
that's like brutal. And it's actually the original habanero loop from 2015.
Okay.
So the loop's been run like back in the day. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. And it's a park that not a lot of people use. And I was really happy to go back and yeah, get to go back somewhere that I like.
That's pretty awesome. So what is that buckle? What's so special about this buckle? What's the
I just think I think it's big, it's bold, it's Christmas themed. I love Christmas. Obviously, I love the time of the year, but yeah, I think I was back in the day like known for I'll try to put big buckles on people and give you a healthy cutoff. This one will give you 20 hours to finish it. So you're going to get plenty of time to get it done. And I think that also may be a little bit of a change for me is that I'm going to try to extend out the times a little bit from where I can at parks to give people more time to get some races done. And yeah, just
that's
the
awesome.
fun stuff for sure.
So the buckle is only for the longer run, right? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And then people get something, I'm sure, after
We'll do, yeah, wooden
medals
medals.
and things.
We'll do medals for every other distance.
Yeah.
We'll do a costume contest, top
Cool.
3, obviously Christmas themed. We'll do a costume contest for your best relay team, which will all give them a free race. But yeah, I just look at it like I really wanted to put one on this year.
Yeah.
Christmas has always been like super fun. Obviously, it's a tight window to put it in December. But I wanted to give people like in that, obviously Houston, but also like right there in between Austin, wanted to give them another option to run inside of but before the holidays start.
I was looking at your website and then just, I'm your first follower, by the way,
Nice. I love it.
on
Well, you're the
Instagram.
only one that knows. You're the only person other than myself that knows that it's live right now. So that's it.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest feeling ever to have all these things to do, and then I can't do any of them. And out of disrespect, I've just been
Yeah.
just waiting to put anything out, which is not normally the style, but I haven't really had a choice. So
Gotta do what you gotta do, man. That's
yeah,
just, we all learn. And so this is one of your kind of learning patience thing.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's no lie.
As you look at expansion, so you got one race. What does that look like for you? What are you thinking about for the next year?
Yeah, I think, and I say full schedule, just full schedule is modified, right? I think,
Sure.
unfortunately enough, if I say full schedule, then people start to think of what I was doing years ago, which is 17 or 18 races as
Well,
a
that time to
schedule.
do all that. It wasn't
Yeah.
just 1 year. It took
Yeah.
years.
I feel like for some reason that's what people expect. But at the end of the day, listen, we'll have 6 to 8 races next year. Most of those races are already planned out, to be frank with you. And I'm going
Okay.
to announce pretty much a new race every 2 to 3 weeks after
Okay.
this one gets announced. I have permits in place. And I've already said that without saying too much that I can't wait to go back to the beach.
Yeah.
Which people know that we put a race in Surfside. And I've also told people that I can't wait to go back to San Antonio. And of course, I put on races in San Antonio and I can't wait to go back. But I'm also, to be really frank with you, I'm doing those things with care.
Yeah.
I feel like when I came into the sport, you planned around other people's races and you tried not to squash other people and you did those things and you watched out for people and how they use parts. And I'm trying to do those things with care,
Yeah.
which is very important to me because my friends race direct in this state, those that I do call my friends that are race directors. Yeah, that does mean something to me. So I've just taken my time over the last month and checked venues and checked dates and made sure with friends of mine that had races within a month or two away that it was cool and that we were on the same page. And that's helped me build out a schedule. But my schedule should end up being every other month a race, and a couple of those months we'll have some races, but slowly but surely, realistically over the next month, most of those plans I'm going to show everybody. And yeah, I mean, I'm not hiding any of it. It's just more of, let me
Yeah.
get the first race will open this Friday, of course, on the best platform in the world, Ultra Signup. And then
Exactly.
once that one gets up and going, a couple weeks later, we'll announce the next race and we'll slowly roll them out and get everybody ready for the fun. That's for sure.
Just to be clear, just so
Yeah.
people, it's the DFW most people here in Dallas Fort Worth that listen to the podcast, not everyone, but so right now you're looking at Houston, San Antonio, you said the beach, I assume, somewhere Galveston-ish.
Surfside. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Of course.
Yeah. But nothing as of now, DFW is not going to be touched for you yet, or kind of what's your thoughts around that? I'm just asking for us.
Yeah, I would love to put on a race at DFW. Obviously, I have a lot of people there that have always enjoyed our races,
Yeah.
and I think we've done a really good job of being up there. And obviously, Trailhead is what I consider one of the best stores in the country when it comes to the market. It's just,
That's awesome.
if people knew Austin Trail Running Company, which my great friend Pam Kirby ran in the Austin area,
Yeah.
we had one store, and then with the Pam store, now we have Trailhead. Like, I would just a heed for everyone. Please support your local running stores, especially the ones that support trail running, because there's not that many in the world,
That's right.
and they do a ton for the community. I'll just say that, but I would love to do it. It's not on my radar as of this minute, and B,
Okay.
to be super frank with everybody, there's some checks and balances for me that have to go in before that happens. And
Okay.
I'm not saying everyone would do this, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but that would be a big call to Chris and Ian,
Yeah.
and to look around the schedule and make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. And there's a lot of stuff going on up there that's really great. So the last thing that I want to do is to come up there and step on anybody's toes and make someone choose one race or the other. It's just, it's not my style, but B, at the end of the day. But I'm sure I will be there. But I also want to pick somewhere that no one else has used. I do have a couple of spots. So I would want to come up there and be in a unique location that no one's ever used, that works in a time of year that no one else wants to put on a race, or it could just slot in and it would be good. And this is also a different change, Chris. This is new, Rob. I'm more than happy to do a collaboration race because I do have a couple of races for some people that are race directors that are in different states that I'm talking to about us forming together and putting on races together. That really interests me going forward this time around is to do some collaborative race experiences with other race companies that want to do. I look at it like two worlds collide. There's a lot of people I would love to put on a race with. Just I don't know, just because I think it would be fun to
Cool.
combine forces. I would love to put on a race with Chris and Annie
They're
in the
awesome. Yeah.
Barnes. I would love it just because we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
Bristen's the same way. Bristen has these crazy ideas for all these races. So I'm always like,
Yeah.
maybe we could think of like the craziest idea in the world and rip one off. You know what I mean? But yeah, as I've said in my Facebook post, I'm just happy to be back. So for
Yeah.
me to get a chance to do a collab, which a lot of people don't do it, and I get why they don't do it, but I guess like I also look at it like I don't have anything to prove in that regard. So it would be fun to do something together with
Yeah.
somebody that wanted to.
I
Yeah.
love that. How, speaking of kind of these, how has the trail community, the local for you and maybe all of Texas, how has some of those folks taken it? What's the views and things like that? Because anytime you start a new business, there's going to be opportunity that people think, oh my God, he's going to take away everything. Or I don't know. I'm just curious. And if anything is taking place there.
Yeah, listen, from the runner side, it's been nothing but love.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years of love for me. My
Yeah.
inboxes, my email boxes are filled with people that have asked me to come back, or like people like, where have you guys been? And I tell people like, we're raising a 6-year-old. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying, and I've said this before, but I don't regret leaving.
Yeah.
I left when I needed to leave. And it's hard to have 17 races and then just, what was I going to say? I'm done and just let it all go down, right? Like I tried to do the best I could before I left. And I left when I needed to leave as a person. And then also, I didn't want to miss Ruby, our 6-year-old. I
Yeah.
didn't want to miss her growing up. And I had this window in front of me where I was like, man, I have the next 3 years to see her grow up from 3 years old to first
Yeah.
grade. And I don't want to be on the road phoning it in. And I didn't. And I'm happy that I took the opportunity to step away. And I'm happy that the fire remained. But yeah, on the runner side, hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people have contacted me the last 3 years asking me when I'm coming back. They obviously know that I love it. I've also stayed super close to the sport. I think there's a huge opportunity in Houston. There's not many trail races in Houston.
Yeah.
There's Rocky, there's Brazos, but the truth is like there's not many at all. I think there's a lot of opportunity in San Antonio and along that corridor. There's only a couple of races that get put on in San Antonio every year. So I think there's opportunity to put them on. I feel like I've gotten a lot of people that are close to me that are happy that I'm coming back. And I'm sure I have
Yeah.
people that would rather not see me come back, but I say it like I mean it is I'm going to do what I want to do, regardless of what people say. And the other part is I paid my dues in this sport. I've been race directing since 2014. I've
Yeah.
race directed a race every year. I think I have a unique way that I look at races in the general sense that my main number one concern out of the gate is to build a community.
Yeah.
The races and the events are cool, and I know that gets the public's eye at time, but I actually don't really care that much as I want to reinvigorate a community to come back together. I feel like a lot of people that I race directed for, I see them everywhere, but I don't see them together a lot. For me, that's a tough thing to see because I feel like it's family for me. The people that run our races are family, and that's how I've met everybody. So my number one goal is how do we get the community back together? And we also have some free events that are going to be planned and scheduled that are community building events just to do. And I haven't said this, but I'm also happy to announce that Amanda is back.
Oh.
So Amanda, of course, is my work wife, my by my side person. But Amanda, when she worked for us before, and she was a part of Trot before, she didn't live in Houston. She lived in Austin.
Okay.
So I'm super stoked because she lives in Houston now. So Amanda will again be right-hand person. And she is doing group fitness right now. And she's running trails in the Cypress area, which is where she lives. So we're going to do a lot with the running communities in our area. And I think that, and we talked about this off camera, but there's a swell of people that are coming into this sport that are coming into it at a lifestyle level.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming into this as a run a mile or two on a Thursday with a group, or the run groups all over the country are insanity.
Yeah.
And that's because trail running and running has now reached the lifestyle. It's a lifestyle thing to do. You can go to a bar or you can go to a restaurant and get a 2-miler in with your friends.
Yeah.
And trail running has gotten cooler. The gear has gotten cooler. The shoes are cooler. And it is now it's transcended over into this lifestyle. And for me, that's essentially I see it. So we're going to heavily try to encourage those people to be part of the trail community and encourage that with distance wise and also with making sure that everyone feels welcome. That's part of the culture for me of having community is I think that what I see a lot of, I saw it at Broken Arrow, was you see a lot of groups over the past few years that had very small, let's say small amounts of influence, or they had very small amounts of people that
Yeah.
they gained power with each other, right? They gained force with each other. Now they're here.
Mm.
And I think that I want to make sure that all those doors are open. We took a lot of pride before in having 50% men and women at races. We took a lot of pride I did in making sure that our culture felt correct, that women felt safe at our races,
Yeah.
that people didn't feel like that political stuff didn't get in the way, the racism. Like I have to do a really good job of that. And times have changed. So I
Mm.
want to make sure that we're doing a really big job of making sure that all groups and all aspects of the running community are well represented and that they all feel like they have a place to go to, because at the end of the day, like that's why trail running is great, is because we're an open door for everybody. I need to make sure that I build that community correctly from the ground up before we ever start like worrying about races.
Absolutely. Building that community is what you had in the past, right? Like this whole
Yeah.
community of people. And that's something that I think that you've done a really good job of. And look, you've been building all these new relationships over the last 3 years. So you've got to be smarter. I'm sure you've mentioned some really good ideas. And, so I know that I'm excited and I'm sure that others are going to be super excited to start running your races again and being part of that community, because I know it's funny because when I did a lot more trail running, Leah and I did a lot of your races. And part of that was due to Dallas Dirt Runners back in the day,
Yeah.
whenever it was a close knit group. They've gone off and they're close in some ways, but they're just doing some of their own things. But that's really from that community for us is why we started, right? Because we were close knit. We put down a tent, big kind of thing that said DDR. And I know other folks in Houston did. We competed against some of them and some of
Yep.
the points and shit that you did. So that was fun. I assume that you're going to be doing some of that kind of stuff again and bigger and better. What does that look like?
Yeah, I have I look at it like I have a lot of ideas that were 3 years ago that are still relevant.
Yeah,
And I
of
also
course.
have things that I think are like necessarily need to be changed, but are like updated in the times.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Like ambassador team for sure, 100%. At some point in the equation, we'll go back to having an elite team because I still think that elites are not represented well in the
Hmm.
sport, even though there's a lot of opportunities there. Sometimes it takes building a bigger team to help do that. Having a points championship that involves volunteers and runners and clubs, 100% is on the deck to come back as well at some point. I think all of those things, yeah, are absolutely. And I think that maybe the difference in some of that, the difference in some of that idea is that I think what you're going to find, which we didn't have before, is there's a lot more groups out there than just the like trail running groups.
That's right.
Before you'd had 3 or 4 like trail running groups.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of people that run trails that don't associate themselves with a trail running group, which
Yeah.
for me is going to be very interesting to see like how those come to be, because a lot of it now is 100 people in a running club and
Yeah.
they do go run trail, but they also meet to go run. But
That's
I
right.
look at it like if you run trail, you like to run and you want to come to a party, like how do we get those 100 people to come
Yeah.
experience trail and party? Because I know the truth is that if we can get people to experience trail and there's a good community there, that they're going to fall in love with it, just like we all do. And
Yeah.
maybe they don't only run trail, and that's okay if they do other stuff, but I know that we'll win them into the community. And for me, I think of adding really great people into the community as adding assets. And
Mm.
how many of these like really great people and really great groups can we get to keep coming into the sport? Because for those of people that don't look at the sport as a whole, and I get that a lot of people don't necessarily focus on the numbers of the sport or what's happening. The sport is growing again. It's
Yeah.
growing like 2000 and like 15, 16 growth. But
Mm.
and that was like the first wave of like big growth. And that's when like trail running became cool. Like you
I
went
remember
from
that.
like trail running being like you go follow like the brown cow to the left chalk mark on the ground and you get a cotton shirt. That
Oh,
was like, not to say there's anything wrong with that, but that was like pre 2014. Around the 2013 or 14, you started to see people that they wanted events, right? They
yeah.
wanted more. And a lot of that's from like West Coast, right? The West Coast is first with a lot of the ways that they do it.
Mm.
We're now into this post COVID. Everyone's back to having fun. And now our sport has moved into lifestyle. And I've been screaming from the rooftops for 5 years that our sport was about to find lifestyle because I owned a resale company and I could see all these collaborations happening behind the scenes with Hoka and Solomon, and how our like S slabs that we wear on the trail became cool to people that wanted to wear them at Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So it was only a matter of time before these worlds collide. And when they collided, and they are colliding, the people that are liking the Solomon trail shoes are wondering like, oh, these are for trails? And then they go to a run club or they get on a trail race and they love it. So we have this whole different like groups of people that are coming in. And for me, I look at it like, wow, what an opportunity to make sure that they felt heard, they feel heard, bring them into this community. And then obviously my races will follow because I want to have big, bold, fun races. Like we are there to have fun. The sport is about having fun.
A couple of things I want to talk about because you piqued my interest. One, I just want to say something you mentioned is about these communities that, whether they're these running groups that you mentioned. Just in Dallas, I just talked to this guy, and you and I talked about this pre-show, I guess we could call it, is around this group called Run It Up. And this group, only a little over a year old, and I talked to the leader of that group, his name's Theo Murdaugh, and they have thousands of people, like 80,000 people that are on their Instagram, and just a lot of following. And so when you watch what they're doing on Instagram and other kinds of things, you're seeing them dancing, music, and having fun. Right? And so what they're doing is what you said is, and there's literally thousands of people, like a few hundred people show up on Monday and Tuesdays. But what they're doing is these 2-mile runs on Monday and Tuesday, bringing in people that might not usually be part of a running community, but getting them a little bit more healthy, thinking about running and things like that. But then they have a group that meets early on Saturday mornings that are more like marathon runners or half marathon runners that are doing more miles. But then that's at 5:30, and at 8:30, they bring the entire group together and they meet these different places in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And the running community has taken off in these groups, literally in Dallas Fort Worth. I can name you 60. If you go to dfwrunninggroup.com, I have 50 of them, and I can't keep up with all of them. The number one search thing in Dallas Fort Worth, because look at that, is running groups in my area. That's number one. And that's number one, the main looked at thing on Google in Dallas Fort Worth from a running standpoint. It's not shoes. It's nothing else besides running groups in my area. And I'm starting to capture all of that. And the point is it's growing like crazy because nobody knows where to go run with because there's so many of them. Who's good for me? And that's one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right. Obviously, the data speaks for itself. And you could see it building, though, right? 2 years ago, if you were at TRE in December, you could see Blackman Run, right? Blackman Run started to make this presence. Jay Tinsley is a guy out of Phoenix who's close, who's a guy I've chatted with a bunch of times. But we've seen their speech, right? So we've seen them get to speak. We've seen the growth of it. If you're a Broken Arrow this year, they had a non-binary run club that came and ran, I would say, and I could be wrong, so forgive me, but 50 to 70 people were there. And it was just like, I say that because those groups that have just been building together, right? And I think that another one that's been big is there's a group that's for moms, like the moms that run the trail, that all of those groups have gotten bigger, bounded together. They're forces, but they're also, at the end of the day, they're giving everyone an opportunity to come be part of a tribe and feel welcome and feel useful and to give them purpose. And it doesn't matter if it's 2 miles. It doesn't matter if it's 5. We used to do which I'm bringing this back. So most people know, but we used to do, I got a cease and desist one time for doing a Torchies walk. We called it the Torchies walk. Torchy sent me a cease and desist. So we called it the Rorchies walk. We just changed the T to an R. Listen, y'all, we used to start at a Torchies and we would eat at a Torchies and we would go to 5 Torchies in a row.
What?
And we would go and we would eat a taco along the way, and we would make a 50K loop. We would do it in one day. It was ridiculous. We had people that would come out there to get their first ultra ever on a taco walk.
That's awesome. You made it fun.
I know, but that's my point. My point is that all these people have been looking for the smallest place that they can get into entry level to go and have fun and feel
Yeah.
accepted and to feel part of the group. And running clubs have done a really exceptional job over the past 2 or 3 years post COVID
Yeah.
and giving people reasons to get out and giving people a chance to be part of communities. And now we're seeing all of those people's hard work explode everywhere. And it's super great
Yeah,
for
and I
sure.
think that something that, and I'll get off of it here shortly, but something that he was talking about yesterday on the podcast, which it hasn't come out yet, the guy from Run It Up, Theo, was that they get these groups. It's kind of like DDR did or other running groups, and they'll go to Detroit or to run the half
Mhm.
marathon or marathon, or they'll go to local 5K and they'll bring 50 people or 80 people to this local 5K and just own it. They'll have this little, they'll have their music out there, they'll have
I
everything.
love it.
And so tapping into that shit, which I know
Yeah.
you will, is
Yeah.
the key at the end of the day is to get these local running groups excited about what you're doing, other things. And so
That's
it,
how trail running grew, though.
yeah, that's right.
That trail running grew the same way. I mean, 2014,
Yeah.
there was no DDR, there was no
Nope.
Hater, there were no La Familia run. Like those groups weren't real. What happened was is we banded together when I started the Houston Area Trail Runners in 2012 or whatever with 3 other people.
Yeah.
We essentially we put a group run every Saturday and Sunday for 6 months before one person showed up. And then one person showed up and we're like, hey, you're in. We need you. And then it became this force. And then DDR became a force. Like now I'm seeing like the Wolfpack in Cyprus has a group, San Antonio, Austin. Like it all starts from those people banding together. So trail running at one point was the same way.
Yeah.
Just running is now in that same manner. And maybe it's been different in the past, but the run group is a force right now.
It is interesting too. Like Dallas Running Club it's called DRC, has been around since
Yeah.
the 70s and really big in Dallas, but they're just now, I just saw something the other day that, hey, let's have a 101 trail kind of how to. We're going to start running down some of the trails locally and that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, maybe. So even trail running is getting to the mainstream of just regular running on the road. But
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, every trail runner has to run on the road anyways, especially in Dallas. It's not like there's a trail close by in every single person. So for the most
Yeah.
part, if you're training for a half marathon, 50K, 100-mile, whatever, you're going to get on the road in Dallas and Houston.
Yeah.
It's just the reality. So they're all converts from
Yeah.
on the road to trail anyways. This is exciting. One thing that I didn't bring up that you caught my ear was around elites. Like I'm a little highly interested in this kind of elite kind of thing you were talking about. Not that I'm elite, but just what does that mean? You're going to bring the elites?
I think like back in the day, we had a team. It's always fun for me to see like people that were on the team be superstars in everyone's eyes because they see them now. Meg
Yeah.
Ecker, just 6 days. But it's like a band when you knew that band and no one else knew them and you knew they were great.
Yeah.
And they become this huge band. And then you're, oh man, everyone found out about the band. Like Meg is one of many of the band. Right?
Yeah.
Meg is super fabulous. For me, I always thought about it this way. Our sport has gotten better, but our sport isn't at the end of the day about elites.
Yeah.
Elites make up about 1% of the sport.
Yeah.
99.9% of our sport is about regular, everyday moms, dads, people going to run. Trail running isn't, I've said this before, people take offense. I'll say that trail running's not a real sport. I only say that because a 50-mile trail race anywhere in the country, in Audebois, is not a 50-mile trail race at Bucher State Park.
Yeah.
They're not the same. They're not.
Yeah.
So to have records on some of this stuff is very nominal. But the truth is that there's very few people run for a living that are elite.
That's right.
And what I tried to do before was for the people that are what I consider like state elite or local elite or whatever that might be, I always found if I could get enough of them together that wanted to be on the team, and then essentially I leveraged the fact that I put on races, then I can get both people to win. I don't think I can say what my old contract used to be, but I'll tell you some terms. Back when we used to have Ultra, which was ages ago, let's say it's 7 or 8 years ago, the agreement that I had with Ultra was the team that would be an elite team or your trail team got allotted X amount of pairs, and then Rob got allotted X amount of pairs. Now, I used to give my pairs away to volunteers, and we gave them away in contests, and we gave them away to runners. And obviously, Ultra was trying to get shoes on feet. But I say that because when you kind of group together having an ambassador team and having like a team that races, and you also have like events, you can essentially use that leverage to try to get a bigger deal that helps
Nice.
everyone out. So I still see a lot of
Got
people.
it.
I don't see it as much, but it's just because I'm not like deep into it. But I would love to find another group of 8 to 10 people that are in trail running for racing
Yeah.
specific, like they're trying to win races, and
Yeah.
try to see if I can't help them level up the same way that, like, if we can find 20 or 30 people that want to represent Rise and be ambassadors and tell everyone about trail racing, which is super important to me, then I want to do that as well. Because to me, the reach is important.
Yeah.
The reach of your runners, your run clubs, your how do we have to bring, for me, if I'm going to build something, I want to be able to have people coming in to the sport from different places. And that also includes sponsors. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a dollar sponsor guy. I never have been. I don't want checks from sponsors. I want opportunities.
Mhm.
So if I can get Red Bull to come back into the loop, and I
I
can
hope
get
they
the
do.
Red Bull DJ,
That was my favorite
hey,
part at the end.
you,
Was Red
hey,
Bull.
I'm telling you, trust me, I'm making the call tomorrow.
So,
If I can, I look at it like, if I can get those sponsorship deals to me, then I can get it to my runners.
yeah.
So I can get that stuff out on the course. One time we had a DJ truck, or
Mhm.
what people don't know is that first year that we had Franklin Mountains was a sky race. Like Red Bull put a lot of money into advertising to
Yeah.
push people to come to that event. So I love the business of it, but my goal is, how do we get a spotlight bright enough on the events, the runners that are running it. And that also is going to be on a personal level, because I do have a different ways, I told you off air, to bring people to the sport. And I think that we're in the day and age where exposure is needed.
Yeah.
I've had a long chat about why the Nick Bear event that was here in Texas was so big. I've tried to
Mm.
explain to people that when you have a spotlight as bright as his, you can make the ordinary look extraordinary. And I think that he's done a really good job of building a brand and putting a light on it. And to me, that's my job, is to put a light on it. But I know that the real world loves stories.
Yeah.
And I just don't hear enough stories. And this is my own personal view, but I don't see enough stories from the people that I think people want to hear from. And I want to do a really good job of telling those stories through content. And I think that those stories will resonate with people, just like why most of us got into this sport. And we will see an increase in people wanting to come to run trail, that see someone that they associate with, see a story they're associated with. And I think that's a big goal for me, is to make sure that I do a really good job of doing that.
So something that's big, and you probably know this because you're hitting around, or at least thinking about it, it feels like you are, is influencers in the space. So
Mhm.
when you think of business in general, you have influencers promoting the different parts of a business, or like the companies are paying these influencers a lot of money
Mm.
to post on their Instagrams and LinkedIn's and all these probably not Facebook as much, probably TikTok and things like that. I think that feeding those kind of people, I don't know, maybe that's not something that you're thinking about, but certainly is an opportunity as you kind of look at that. I've seen that as a big push in the last few years for big
Yeah.
brands,
Yeah.
B2B companies, B2C companies, things like that.
You know what's funny is, I spoke at Trail Conference. That's the Trail Conference. TrailCon is between Western States and Broken Arrow. For those of you guys that don't know, I was the opening panel. And part of the news article that my CEO David put up was actually like an article from Laz from like 1981. And the article was funny because it's basically everything that everyone's saying now about the sport.
Yeah.
He wrote the same thing at 81. When I came into the sport and race direct in 2014, people used to tell me that the way for me to get more people to sign up for my race was to pay to have Anton Krpichka or Hal Corner come to my race and show up. So it used to be a theory. Number one is, I think influencers for the bigger brands works,
Yeah.
and I think it will work. I'm not focused on that, but one of the reasons why I don't think that I'm focused on that is because I think that there's enough people with enough great stories to tell
Yeah.
themselves within the community, that I don't necessarily need. I guess if I wasn't going to tell their stories, then I think there would be a genuine want to have someone come and create content around your event
Yeah.
that helped your stories. But my plan internally is to already do that. But listen, the stories that people have in trail running
Yeah.
are incredible. The
Yeah.
people that run the races are incredible. And if we want more people to continue to come into the sport, And it's the same reason why the run clubs have gotten big. We have to find a way to tell the stories. And I think that's going to be an important part of the growth, as it always has.
Yeah, something that is more of a business side of things. I'm
Sure.
always, and I told you this before, I'm always interested in that. Before you own different parts of, and I don't remember, you didn't just own a trail running race. You had owned it. I don't know if it was like shirts and things like that. You did your own thing in that. You didn't rely on going to some trail store or whatever to get
Yeah.
stuff in a brand. You got your own stuff. What does that look like for you?
Same thing.
Mm.
I've owned a streetwear company for now 6 or 7 years. Obviously, it's pretty much phased out at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, actually, I appreciate the question. But people have asked about No Fine Print, which
Yeah.
is a clothing company I've had before. I told them it's coming back. It is, and I will source everything, and I will make everything that comes out of our doors. Some of that's a little bit different, right? Like I'm very fortunate that years ago I made a lot of stuff here in the country. Obviously, with
Mm.
tariffs changing, it's a huge deal. You have to be really careful on where you're getting things from and how you're doing it. But I have a deep want to do, and I didn't do this before, but I have a deep want to do graphic style shirts again that I think people love, and use the Rise name to do that. And I probably have 10 different logos that I didn't use
Yeah.
for our like main logo, but all of those are like alternate shirt logos or things like that. But yeah, I think, listen, if you're in business and you have fixed costs and you have one race or you have 10 races, you have to look at everything that you spend, and you have to try to figure out where your strong suits lie, and you have to figure out how to cut those costs down. Some people do it differently, right? You can take some of the biggest race companies in our sport, like an Air Viper. Air Viper has chosen to make their own medals. They went to, okay, we're going to hire someone because we have so many races to make medals all the time, which I think is super smart if that's what like they think helps them control the process. And I think it's the same thing for people that have done shirts. Someone like me, like I know what fabrics are. Like I
Yeah.
seek that stuff out. Like right behind you can't see it. I have a heat press and a hat press. And like I'm my guy that lives like 20 minutes from my house does embroidery and does screen printing. Like I'm still in that because I make stuff for Ultra Signup. I
Yeah.
still am in that every day. So
Like
for
you're doing
me,
that yourself? Like I don't
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
understand you
with
have your own business, but maybe it's like somebody's doing that for you. It's Rob
Yeah,
doing
I
that
mean,
shit
it's not
too.
really it's just a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
If you've done the puzzle 1,000 times, it doesn't take a lot to do the puzzle. But I've made everything from tents and inflatables to bang sticks. It doesn't really make a difference because
I feel like
once
you're
you've done it for a certain
multi-talented.
amount of times. Well, when I ran my race company before, I can control minus the variables, right?
Yeah.
I need to try to control A to Z.
Yeah.
And it isn't, I'm not like, it's not a control problem.
Yeah.
It's a quality control. And I want to say this. Some people say when you want to be the best at something, some people take that as you're trying to be the best over them. I look at if you say you want to be the best, you're trying to be the best that you're capable of.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be the best.
Yeah.
I wouldn't come back if I wasn't trying to be the best. The best to me is, how do I get the most out of myself?
Yeah.
How do I present the best product? How do I control that product? And how do I give people a world-class experience? The
Yeah.
only way that I know how to do that is to touch every piece
Mm.
along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with doing all that stuff if that means that at that end of race day, you say, this was the best day of my life, I have won. And those are the experiences that helped me build Trot before. And those are the same
Yeah.
experiences that I expect out of myself again. So it's just more of I want to have my finger on the pulse of it at all times, because if it goes sideways, I can stop it immediately and it
Yeah.
doesn't affect what on race day.
Look, yeah, what you're doing is going to be really awesome. Can't wait till it all comes out. Is there anything that I missed that you were like, Chris, we should have talked about this kind of thing or whatever? Anything
No,
that you can think of?
I'm just super grateful. I really am. It just took a lot of years for me to be able to get the timing right, like
Yeah.
within my family, within that stuff, and like all the people that have always been and said, can't wait for you to come back. Like for me, that's fuel, right? So all those little touch points when I almost got it right and I didn't get it right. And at the end of the day, like I miss those people. Like
Yeah.
I know as a person that I was fulfilled every weekend I put on events, and I feel like it just made me want to be back on the trails with people. It made me want to train harder. It made me want to be a better person. So I'm super grateful that I get the chance. And like, I just can't wait to just put on a party. and just start to just put on some crazy stuff.
So, Rob, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
This has been amazing. I'm going to get this out as soon as possible. Rob Goyen, everyone, go to riseracingco.com and you'll see
Yep.
his Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I think Twitter, or whatever it's called now, is on there. X. So all that stuff's there. So go follow it and come tonight to his Q&A and whatever else he's going to say. I'm going to try to be there if all possible. Rob, man, pump for you, pump for everybody else to be able to run a Rob Goyen trails again,
Yeah.
So the experience is always amazing and always going to be fun and it's going to be like a party. So we love parties and thank you for all you do. And we're really excited.
For sure. Appreciate your time and looking forward to it as well.
All right, everybody, just make sure you go to dfwrunningtalk.substat.com to subscribe to our newsletter. I'm going to get this one out as soon as possible, probably the next day or two from a newsletter standpoint. Until then, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.